We'll be trying to figure out when slavery was abolished in the state of Mississippi. I found an article that I'll share with you that pretty much sums up everything that I've learned. After failing for 130 years to ratify the 13th Amendment, which abolished slavery except as a punishment for crime, the state of Mississippi finally ratified the 13th Amendment in March of 1995. So let that sink in a little bit. March of 1995 is like 27 years ago. So like 28 years ago, you could have legally owned a slave in the state of Mississippi? Come on, you got to be kidding me. Because if I'm not mistaken, in 1865, January 31st is when they ratified it, and December 6, 1865 was when they abolished slavery. So what happened? Soon after the Confederacy's defeat in the Civil War, the 13th Amendment was designed to abolish slavery nationwide. The text of the amendment reads, "Neither slave nor involuntary servitude except as punishment for crime whereof the party shall have been duly convicted shall exist within the United States or any place subject to their jurisdiction." After Congress passed the amendment on January 31st, 1865, 3/4 of the states, which is 27 out of the 36 at the time, needed to ratify it before it could become part of the Constitution. Mississippi's economy was built on slavery, and the state had the largest enslaved population in the country at the start of the Civil War. On December 5th, 1865, the state legislature voted against ratification, becoming one of several southern states that refused to endorse the 13th Amendment. Ultimately, the amendment received enough votes from other states so that it was ratified the following day, despite Mississippi's opposition to the end of the enslavement. Almost 130 years later, in 1994, a clerk in the Texas legislature named Gregory Watson discovered that Mississippi still had not ratified the 13th Amendment. He notified each of the black members of the Mississippi legislature and sent them a draft of a resolution that Mississippi could adopt in order to rectify the situation. On March 16th of the next year, Mississippi legislature reached a largely symbolic vote to unanimously ratify the abolition of slavery in the U.S., becoming the last of the eligible states to do so. After the vote, however, Mississippi state officials failed to send the necessary documentation to the Federal Register, so the ratification was not formally filed as required. Nearly 20 years later, in late 2012, 2 Mississippi residents discovered that the ratification was not yet official and notified the Secretary of State. Several weeks later, the required paperwork was filed, and Mississippi's ratification of the 13th Amendment was legally recorded on February 7, 2013.